Welcome, college football fans, to the Volunteer Breakdown Podcast, where we, Gavin and Mylan, are your college football insiders, with intriguing takes into the Division I college football universe, to exclusive deep dives and breakdowns into the Tennessee football program. So without further ado, college football junkies, grab your popcorn and let's get into it. I'm calling the upset on this one.
Let's see what happens this Saturday.
Our predictions don't matter. It's what happens on that field.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Volunteer Breakdown Podcast. I'm your host, Gavin, and this is Mylan. And today, on this episode, we will be breaking down the preview for the Georgia and Tennessee game this weekend. Big game in Knoxville, CHECKER NEYLAND. High expectations. Whoever wins this has a outstanding chance to make the playoffs. Because let me start by saying, if Tennessee wins, like just based off their schedule, if they win the games that they're supposed to win, they got a magnificent chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first big one. It could not end up being the biggest game of the season, as it just depends on how things shape out. But it's one that you've lost, I believe, one game. I think Heupel's lost one game in the last 3 seasons in Neyland. This is going into his 4th, so Heupel has a great track record at home in his career in general. You look at year 1, you lose to Ole Miss, you drop that game. You've got, obviously, you've lost to Georgia at home. I think Georgia's won 8 consecutive games against Tennessee, home and away. I was telling you earlier this week, I think any time that you play at home, especially in these bigger games, you spot yourself 10 to 14 points in just because of the crowd. And so whenever you have, the home field advantage, I think that the X factor is going to be the crowd and keeping them engaged. Georgia's X factor is, hey, can we get the crowd and just quiet them down when we need to? And so from there, you got to look at other points that we're going to make within the show, or in the episode. But I just think that this is the biggest game in terms of, one, Josh Heupel taking that next step as the head coach at Tennessee. You beat Bama at home, you beat Florida at home. Can you now beat Georgia at home, and later on, can you win some key road games? So we'll wait and see. Big game though, by far.
Yeah. Bounce off what you said about the talent gap. I know the recent games have been somewhat close. I know that last year's game was sort of close. I can't directly recall what the score was, but I know that we were leading at halftime. So that just goes to show you that the recruits that Tennessee has and the stuff that Heupel's doing to get 4, 5, and even 3 stars to come to Tennessee and developing them to become a freak on whatever side of the ball they're playing on, then Tennessee can beat Georgia anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's now time for, we're talking talent gap, is, when Josh Heupel first took over the program, you got the McDonald's scandal with paying the players, with the McDonald's bags and stuff. And so, like, that's funny and all, because what happens a year later, NIL becomes a thing. And so it's like, so basically what we were doing was legal just before it was legal. And so, that was obviously with the Pruitt situation. And so Josh Heupel has to deal with roster limitations and scholarships. And so now that that's been lifted, you see that now with the incoming 2026 class, who are currently seniors in high school, and just the freak athletes that Heupel's landed, from Faison to Tristan to, oh man, there's the list goes on. Legend Bay, I mean, that dude's a freak. There's so many just dudes that Heupel has landed that are going to be even more just absolutely just stars in Heupel's offense. And I think that the thing that you got to realize is what he's doing is, he never had a track record at UCF at recruiting. And so the big question mark was, you come in with the culture and what Neyland Stadium is, and you have all the pieces around you. You have donors, you have money. You may not have money like other colleges, but you do have all this. I guess you could say resources around you. And could he do it? And the answer is he's proven it. We know that he can develop a quarterback in Hendon Hooker. He proved that, and he's a fan favorite. Now the talk was, well, Nico's left you. We'll be lucky to win 7 or 8 games. I believe that it's been proven, not yet, but it's been shown that, listen, you take a guy from App State, he can sling it. He's relentless. He's fearless. Now he's our quarterback. And so this week is the week that, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this. What does Joey Aguilar do? Who is Joey Aguilar as a quarterback at the University of Tennessee in the SEC against, defending national champions just, a couple years ago? So I'm sorry, it was last? No, it was 3 years ago. So Georgia's been in that top 4 conversation for the last, it seems like, almost 8 years. And so, what Kirby Smart has built at Georgia is essentially what, almost in the realm of things of what Nick Saban has built at Alabama. Tennessee's trying to get there, and they're almost there. It's crazy to say that, but we'll find out. We'll find out about Tennessee as a team. We'll find out about Tennessee's coaching staff. We'll find out about the players and the product we put on the field come Saturday. I'm excited, man. I think Tennessee has nothing to lose. Georgia has everything to lose. So the pressure's definitely on Georgia coming into this game.
Going back to what you said about how Heupel's like not necessarily recruiting, but getting guys to come to Tennessee. He's taking backup quarterbacks, and what Hendon Hooker was backup, correct?
He was starter, and then he got benched, and they were just in and out of Virginia Tech's offense.
Mhm.
Proven athlete,
but basically what Heupel's done with transfer quarterbacks specifically is that he's turned Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker into household names. And so, well, it's happened twice. You think that it will happen again? Well, based on what I've seen from the previous 2 weeks, yeah, you've played Syracuse, you've played ETSU, but the guy, like the way that he handles the ball and the way that he plays offense is better than Nico ever thought about playing. He can hit the deep ball. He can get the ball out whenever he needs to. Like that, I forget what quarter it was, but Joey was about to get sacked, and then he tossed the ball out to Brazel, and Brazel got a positive yards out of it last week.
Oh yeah, that was a little Patrick Mahomes-ish. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was getting sacked, and he was about to be down, but he got the ball out kind of like a sidearm. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, but if we're gonna find out, I know you said it, but we're gonna find out truly who Joey Aguilar is, and not just Joey Aguilar specifically, but who is Tennessee's offense this year. We've been run based for I would say since Heupel's been there, but you basically now have a Dylan Sampson putting on a wig and wearing a different number at running back, and then behind that you got Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop, a 3-headed monster at running back. So you got the depth at running back. You have a great receiving core, and so I think the X's and O's for this weekend is that you gotta try not to be too one dimensional, but you gotta make sure that they don't stop the run.
Well, first things first, and if you watch Tennessee's offenses, Josh Heupel is going to run the football, and if the football is not ran, if there's nothing happening in the box when in the line of scrimmage, back up. The game's going to start up front. The game was going to be won by physicality. It is going to be won by one-on-one matchups in the trenches, out wide, and that's just football in general. Moving on from that, when you look at Tennessee's offense, I believe Josh Heupel, the record was something like in his time at Tennessee, he was 31-1 or 32-1 when he has rushed, his offense has rushed for 200 yards or more. So the recipe for success is, hey, the magic number seems to be 200. Now it seems hard to think about. Man, he rushed for 200 yards against Georgia. Here, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you might have to edit that part. But I was getting a phone call. But Josh Heupel has had success in the run game, and it's been run, and pass. And so the passing game, I want to talk about this real quick. The screen game, the quick screens. When I view football and I think about football, is the screen game is an expansion of the run game. That's how I've always translated the screen game, and it's not really just necessarily like screens like a running back screen. It's the quick pitch and catch outside, get on the perimeter. You got a hat for a hat. You got to make one guy miss. It might just be 5 to 10 yards, but that right there is it's an expansion of the run game. Running the ball and passing it horizontally will bring more guys into the box or will change looks that Josh Heupel's looking for. Then you have the vertical passing game. And within the vertical passing game, something that a lot of fans don't realize is the receivers have choices to make. And they're reading their coverage, they're reading their leverage. And based off of what look that the receivers get is, based off of what they're going to react. Is the DB bailing? All right, that's cool. How many sit-down routes did Joey Aguilar throw Saturday? At least 10, maybe 15. Okay, why is that? Push vertical. Hey, we're going to sit it down, take what the defense gives us, 12, 15, 20 yards. I don't know if any other fan likes that, but I like first downs, and I like moving the football because I lived in a time where Jarrett Garantano was our quarterback. Nothing on him, but our offense was awful. And I remember, let's see, what was that year? That might have been the first year with him after Dawgs leaves, 2017 maybe, 2016, 2017, 2017 I guess it was. We went multiple games without an offensive touchdown. So I remember going through droughts, and so seeing 50 points, 60 points, and 70 points being put up is something that I think we're like taking for granted, but like we got to realize like this is awesome. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, the run game's got to be established. From that, the shots will be there, with the one-on-one balls, 50-50 balls, red zone, back shoulders, and just simply running our passing game and just simply connecting on those deep balls. The O-line has looked good so far, and the O-line's given Joey time to throw the ball. So with that being said, things have been good so far. So, Georgia's a different beast. They're not Syracuse. They're not ETSU, clearly. The fronts are going to be much better. What looks are they giving us? Can Joey recognize and just, the disguised coverages? We'll find out. But it's going to be a game where we're going to walk away, win or lose. Clearly, we want to win, but we're going to walk away feeling good about the product that's on the field, I feel like.
Yeah. No matter if you win or lose this weekend, you're just like, well, now we know what Tennessee football is. Like, yeah, you put up 70 points, you put up 40 against week 1 and week 2, but I'm just gonna it cannot be understated that you're gonna find out who Tennessee truly is on offense this year. And going back to what you said about the offensive line, I don't know if I saw in the availability report that David Sanders Jr. was on there. It was I believe it's like he has a shoulder issue, but from what I've been told that he will probably more than likely be ready to go for Saturday because didn't play week 1, didn't play week 2. So if there's any game that you want to have your 5-star O lineman play, it'd probably be this game.
Yeah. The only thing you worry about is the youth, that I think is the
inexperience.
Yeah, if he gets hat on hat, I don't worry about him one bit moving any D lineman that Georgia has. You worry about the early game jitters if they do trot him out there and he's starting at left tackle, protecting the blind side of Joey, is there going to be any jitters, or is he going to be like, hey, day one, this is why you pay me the money, because they pay him to come play at the University of Tennessee. So definitely David Sanders is going to be an absolute rock on that offensive line. And I'm very excited to see what he does in terms of just success and just creating a wall, whether that's in the the run game or the passing game. So
Yeah, and not only do you have David Sanders playing, like whenever he comes back playing offensive line, you got Lance Hurd, and you got the transfer center from Notre Dame, Sam Pelton. He's been outstanding. So you got veterans and you got young guys that are out there protecting Joey. Now moving over to the Georgia side, Georgia's offense, I would say like one guy in particular that you need to watch out for and not necessarily hone in on, but at least have on your radar is Zachariah Branch, is a wide receiver that Tennessee tried to get over the offseason, but could ultimately commit in Georgia. So I looked at stats. He hasn't had as many targets as I thought he would, but given that they blew up Marshall and surprisingly had a close game than what I thought it would be with Austin Peay. So he's going to get some targets. He's just I compare him to like another Ryan Williams. You lock him down, they can't throw him the ball, and there's nothing else that they can do. If they can't get it to their go-to receiver, they have no other choice but to run the ball.
I mean, yeah, I mean they got other options for sure. I mean, but I get what you're saying in terms of he's the guy. I'm not gonna hop on here and say I've not watched but highlights of Georgia as far as their games because they were playing you know the I don't even know the small schools, and I'm not gonna sit there and act like I've watched them because I haven't watched highlights. Playmaker Branch, yes. Robinson at running back, he's a stud. I know they have a fleet of running backs that they're going to trot out there. But to me, when I watch football and I think about the games that we've lost that have been close and just what's happened is I always feel like the quarterback's legs are a factor. I think I'm going to go switch sides of the football. Tennessee and Joey's legs must be a factor. If Tennessee's going to win the game, Joey Aguilar is going to have to. There's no like, oh, maybe. He's going to have, anywhere between 60 to 80 rushing yards. I don't necessarily think they're going to be designed. There could be a few. But there's so many times on those, and I know I'm not talking about Georgia yet, but there's so many times on those reads, and they could be a true give. But if he has the freedom to pull, there's so many times, man, those DNs, they're crashing. Or whatever. They're bringing a dude off the edge, and he's not respecting Joey. Joey needs to make those DNs stay home, okay? Not let them be chased down from the backside, and take the opportunity in the passing game. The thing I like about Joey, and you pointed out, Syracuse game especially, is whenever he was back to pass and things looked cloudy and he saw a lane, he didn't even think. He took off. And so, and he's a quarterback that's not wanting to go down. He's not going to slide. He's gonna put his shoulder down to get those extra yards. Stockton from Georgia, on the other hand, is someone that legs have been a problem early on in the season. Towards the end of last year, when he comes in, when the whole Carson Beck thing went down, I think the kid's fearless as well. He's going to do whatever it takes to win the football game for Georgia. And they have a really good team, man. There's nothing about Georgia coming in here that I'm like, man, I just really think they're just not as good. I think that this is the year Tennessee beats them. If they're going to beat them, you're not going to have a better opportunity for maybe 2 more years than this year. And so why not take advantage? 101,915 fans screaming, cheering you on, and just an absolute every day you want on a game day. You got Checker Neyland, you got College Game Day. Everything that you possibly want is there. You know what I mean?
Last time that game day was in Knoxville, we ended up beating Alabama. So,
well, were they there last year, or was it 2022?
I think it was 2022.
I know that was the game where McAfee
jumped in the Tennessee River.
Well, no, I was gonna say him and Peyton led the band. Mm-hmm. That was so.
Some other matchups that there's going to be good matchups all around. I believe that Clemson's on upset alert this weekend after their close game with Troy, surprisingly. So and as good of a team that Georgia Tech is, they got obviously Haynes King at quarterback, is a absolute stud. I'm trying to think what other games are this weekend. Let's see.
South Florida at Miami.
Yes, that's another one. Alex Golesh doing what he does best, run a fast offense, and that was. I'm just gonna go and say this: if South Florida handles business against Miami and gets through conference play, which I'm sure that they haven't a cakewalk through conference play, just how good they're playing right now. If they handle business against Miami this weekend, they could potentially be a college football playoff contender if they beat, because that's 3 ranked teams in a row that you have beat. I mean, Boise State, yeah, they rank because I don't know. Their offense wasn't based around what it was last year because they had their offense based around one guy that carried them to the playoffs, and they couldn't do anything against a high-powered Penn State defense. So, see, Arkansas plays Ole Miss this weekend. Texas A&M plays Notre Dame.
That's a good one.
Vanderbilt's playing South Carolina, Florida, LSU. Not to mention Florida has a rough schedule ahead of them. They have LSU, Texas, Miami, Georgia, just naming games that they have off the top of my head. Tennessee, obviously, play that game annually, and I think Ole Miss, I could be wrong. I know they play Kentucky as well. But I just know that Florida has a rough schedule. But if they start playing good towards the end of the year, I wouldn't be so go ahead and write that W because in the swamp, because I'm not writing that W anyway in the swamp just because we haven't won there in plus 20 years. But if Florida pulls off what they did last year and just like winning 6 games in towards like your last 6 or 7 games, then I wouldn't be surprised if Billy Napier is the head coach next year. But he's definitely on the hot seat right now.
I don't think he makes it through the end of the season.
Oh yeah, I don't either.
So,
yeah, I think those are like the only good games that I mentioned. That Alabama, they'll beat Wisconsin. But I don't know the way that they played week 1. I don't know.
they'll be fine.
Let's see. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about the game that you thought that's going to be important for Tennessee this weekend?
I mean, taking care of the football. I mean, that's number one. You gotta value the football. You know, that's in any sport. Taking care of the ball as an offense, but man, just the opportunity is at hand. And like I said earlier, I think it's Tennessee has nothing to lose, and I don't want to say the team has nothing to lose because we're a top 15 program. I think consistently we every year in and year out since Heupel's been there, we've been within that top 15 range. Tennessee is not the laughing stock anymore. And I think sometimes people still view us that way because, since 98, won a national championship. I understand. Yeah, we ain't got there. But, I mean, we're not the laughing stock, the pushovers anymore. So I think that, you look in the game and you say, what can we do to win, to ensure a win is, defense has to create, I think, a turnover, and offensively we got to play mistake-free football. Winning the turnover battle doesn't always win the game. Mistake-free football, we cannot have pre-snap penalties killing drives, holding penalties. You're going to have them, but we don't need that holding, just bad timing where it's a big play. Like, let's say a big 40-yard chunk play and it's being brought back because we had holding, or someone wasn't lined up correctly, or someone wasn't set correctly. So many things that can happen. So I think playing mistake-free football, taking care of the football, not being perfect, but playing well enough to win. And I think they will. And I think they've coached them up this week to play loose because you've got the crowd. You're not playing on the road is like, not only do you have to communicate, communication's everything. So offensively, when we're on offense, we know that the communication is going to be a lot easier to communicate than it is when Georgia's on offense. And so I guess now just sit back, wait and see. Does Tennessee, do they play sloppy? Is the play calling? How's the play calling? What's the game plan coming in? Where do we want to attack Georgia? Are our plays scripted starting out? Do we got those first 10 plays scripted? Or is it more of a, hey, let's see what look they give us? Usually the first several are always scripted, but Jackson Ross, Max Gilbert, specialist. I think they're going to play a crucial role. We're going to kick field goals. If we get on the show next week and every offensive possession we had was either touchdowns or punts, and there was more touchdowns than punts, I'll be very, very happy. Gilbert's going to have to be used, been very consistent. Ross has been mostly consistent. We need to pin Georgia back inside the 10, inside the 5, and let that crowd just, cause chaos. And nothing better than the backs against the wall and you got a chance for a safety. Or just there's just a feeling of watching the game as a fan that you get excited about. You're like, oh, yeah, here we go. So I think they'll be fine. And what's your final score prediction?
Before I get to my final score prediction, I just want to say something real quick. Obviously, the play con I may have said this a couple weeks ago, but the play con last year was awful. You had a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball. It was just run, deep pass, 3 and out most of the time. Now the play calling, I think, has been more. They've let Joey out of the box. I'm not necessarily saying that it was Nico's fault that the offensive play calling was awful, but I think now that you have a more quarterback that has better versatility than Nico did, I feel like there's more choices and play callings that you can make. Now, going back to the final score, I think that we win by 2 touchdowns. I think it's a close game down to the wire. Give me.
You said we win by 2 touchdowns?
2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Give me 20 to 34.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I'm gonna go with Tennessee 27, Georgia 24.
Field goal. Think it'll be the last second one field goal, or I think it'll be a.
No, he'll be the difference maker somewhere. It could be a touchdown, whatever. But I think it's 27-24.
All right. We'll find out Saturday what happens. This
Right.
does it for us on the Volunteer Breakdown Podcast. We'll see you next week. Everybody have a good week.
Go Vols.